like the city, but I am tired of the same people, of the same things. I want to escape now to another place now, but with you, 'cause I don't want to be alone. Tell me if you want to follow me now, to follow me. Take me to your arms and never leave me. Don't leave me, boy. Tell me if you want to follow me now, to follow me. Take me to your arms and never leave me. Don't leave me, boy.
Four French drivers at the French Grand Prix trying to win this on the final lap. The three wide again, Guillaume down the inside. Guillaume moves across, they're both in front of Milan and Pouget.
But before you know it, we find ourselves here in the very final race of the competition.
And then they see truck racing and they think, this is crazy, you know, these are 5-ton machines, 1,200 horsepower brake.
Oh, look at that switchback. Oh, he's been moved and it's ready to go out.
I love it. 16.5 minutes gone. Senna Lanson tries to go for the race lead.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Chaz Draycott Media and welcome to rounds 7 and 8 of the Sim Racing Magazine GT3 Winter Tour by Derbyshire Holiday Homes. We're here at the very unique Silverstone International Circuit, the modern day Silverstone, not the old school better one that we still have access to here on iRacing. But this international circuit can be a hell of a lot of fun. It's very short and quick fire in its nature, but with some key overtaking opportunities as well. My name is Chaz Draycott and I'm the only person in the commentary box for tonight, as this is an as live broadcast. Unfortunately, Ed was not available for this evening, so it's just me up here in the box, but I'll be taking you through the action over the course of the evening. Big thanks to our championship sponsors, Derbyshire Holiday Homes, Oris Analytics, and of course Bespoke Shelters as well. And a big thanks to all the drivers and everybody involved for being a part of this series. And of course, the patience for having me do this as an as live broadcast instead of on the night. Now, as you see, there are cars on track at the moment. They are going through qualifying in the background just there, but what we're going to be doing first is having a quick look at the championship standings. Arthur Thurtle, top of the pile at the moment for Altitude Esports, with Lewis Ward just 3 points behind him, and Dan McCauley in the Trump stang, as he calls it, in third position, tied with Nils Kaur, and then Ben Idris Abdullahi in fifth. It's remarkably close because we have drop rounds for this series. It's obviously something that we're going to be testing. That's what we use this series for, the winter series, is to test a lot of things for the main championships that we run. It's Satellite Racing COR at the top of the teams championship, but only by 2 points over Altitude Esports. It is closer and, well, closer than anything we've seen before in the series, but it's currently Arthur Thurtle that is the man on top of things, and he is not top of things in qualifying at the moment. This quick fire 15-minute session precedes two 30-minute races, and well, it doesn't take a genius to see that it's mighty foggy out there. There's no rain on the circuit as such, but there is 100% humidity. It is cold and it is very, very humid out there. We are running this in May in the sim. It's the 15th of May, iRacing's default date, so it's not necessarily winter conditions or anything. We've got Dan McCauley just improving to 7th, Drew Fletcher improving into 11th. Good to see his teammate John Higgins Jr. back on the circuit tonight for Series 1 racing, but at the moment it's Lewis Ward fastest in the Porsche. Let's not forget he changed over to the Porsche for Donington Park onwards from the Mustang. We've got Simon Povey also up there with him, 36 thousandths of a second off. Thurtle in third place. He's 4 thousandths ahead of Adam Watson, who took both race victories back at Donington Park on his debut in the championship. So hats off to Adam. He really did fly in the Lambo. Dennis Van Beelen and Christopher Rowe improving. Christopher Rowe up there in the Chicane Online Racing Porsche. You can just about see it in the mist and fog. But once again, we have a great mix of manufacturers up there near the top of the order. We've got a Porsche ahead of two Corvettes, then a Lamborghini, Audi, there's a McLaren in the top 10, another Lamborghini, and Ben Idris Abdullahi's Mercedes as well up there. Ben was a real superstar back at Donington Park. Just looking down the order, we've got Ryan Penny back with us tonight in his number 99 McLaren. Dan McCauley's gone top of the pile there. The privateer entry in the Trump stang. We're going to see Donald's lovely quiff on the left-hand side of the machine. Sounds absolutely excellent, doesn't it? Lewis Ward now improves and goes even quicker. 23 thousandths clear at the very top. Here is John Higgins Jr. Like I said, great to have him back in the pack for tonight. We saw him at Alton Park, which was, of course, scratched off at the very start of the season. Got Christopher Rowe off the road, unfortunately. He's had a spin towards the end of the lap there. Nils Kaur has just improved. He's gone up into 6th place. Ben Idris Abdullahi now goes up into 9th. There's Daniel Parron-Smith. I saw the Ferrari just going through the bottom of the shot there. Currently in 13th position is Daniel. Only 6/10 of a second off, though. Shows you just how close all of these drivers are together. At the moment, PJ Clysons is a bit further down. He's changed to the BMW for this round of the championship. He's got this, I mean, I don't even know what livery that is all over it. There's a lot of cartoon characters all over his Beamer. It looks a bit squirrely, to say the least, out there. Simon Price is the other BMW on track. And as you can see, he's got the Kellogg's Cornflakes. Not the Kellogg's Cornflakes, sorry, it's the Frosties livery on the car this time round. He said it's another winter-themed thing that he's been shoving into his face. John Higgins Jr. apparently doing a 9-second lap there, so I'm not quite sure what's gone on there. Apparently everybody now is 53 seconds off. Has he had a reset or something? What on earth has happened to John there? Goodness me. I mean, that's a new lap record if we've ever seen one. Absolutely belting stuff. Here's Heinz Mayer in the Lamborghini. There's a cone in the middle of the circuit there as well. Adam Watson goes quickest of the bunch now. 1 minute 2.48. Shows you just how small a lap it is around this place. It is like a square really, with a bit of a chicane thrown onto it. I'm wondering next time if John Higgins Jr. crosses the line, it'll sort of reset his lap time and realise that it wasn't valid, because it says that his last lap was just 9 seconds. That's absolutely balmy stuff, isn't it? We ride on board though with the 5.2 litre V10 powered Lamborghini of Heinz Mayer. He heads across the line. No improvement on that lap, but I think he was just setting himself up for a quick one. Has to lift off slightly, make sure that doesn't overdo it through there. Tim Perry in the chat saying Porsche OP. Oh, it absolutely is, mate. Absolutely is. The livery that's OP for me is this one. Mark Johnson's Legends Racing Castrol McLaren. Lovely looking race car, this. Number 11 machine. The camera really didn't want to cut away from it there, did it? It's great to see the 720S GT3 being so widely used. Obviously, with it being one of the newest cars on iRacing, it is usually one of the quickest. We've got the Honda NSX to think about as well in the not too distant future for any GT3 events that we may be doing. But it's Adam Watson that is, well, theoretically quickest out of everybody at the moment, regardless of what the timing tower will tell you. Two Lamborghinis together on circuit here. That's Adam Watson using all of the road, and then he's got Martin Kenyon just in front of him. I've been racing against Martin in a GT4 championship elsewhere on iRacing and having a lovely old time of it. Arthur Thurtle looks like he's about to improve and go quickest. He does not. A 102.587 is not an improvement for him. Ben Chalcraft improves but doesn't gain a place. We'll keep our eyes, never mind. I was going to say on Adam Watson, but he heads into the pits. Here is Ben Chalcraft in the Spontex CDM Esports sponge livery, the yellow and green machines. Teammates with Simon Povey for this championship. Let's not forget as well, by the way, that in this type of session, the drivers don't get chance to complete the laps that they're on before it's over. Once that clock hits 0, that is that. This is Callum Brandt in the Audi R8 LMS Evo 2. You can hear him just going all the way up through the revs, down the long back straight here towards Stowe. These GT3 cars may be nimble and have a lot of downforce, but they don't want to behave themselves through there. Simon, it makes it feel great. Yeah, I like that. Oh, big slide by Callum Brandt. Now that's one thing that the Audi R8 has always been like. It's been a very loose car from day one as this machine, and it certainly seems like it's not behaving itself here for Callum. Daniel Parron-Smith coming to the line. He's got another Ferrari with him there. I think that's Lee Berridge in the boosted motorsport machine. John Barnes, unfortunately, has departed from the series as of last week at Donington, and we send our best wishes to him with his little one that's due. Congratulations to John and his partner, and we wish him all the best. There's Parron-Smith now, following the other Ferrari. Lee Berridge, certainly in the thick of the action back at Donington Park was Lee. He's going to be hoping to be in the thick of it again here in the 296. Only two of them in the field tonight. Daniel Parron-Smith currently in 11th, Lee Berridge currently in 18th. Well, 10th and 17th, dependent on where John Higgins Jr. actually fits in. But at the moment, once again, altitude showing the way with Adam Watson and Arthur Thurtle. They're not teammates in this championship, but of course they're both stablemates at Altitude Esports. Team run by Mark Fletcher, populated also by Tim Perry in his McLaren out there. And a new name to the championship as well. Jonathan Walker will be joining as Adam Watson's teammate. I believe he'll be driving the Audi R8 as well. Just going to check in the spreadsheet that I've got for that. Yes, Jonathan is going to be in the Audi R8, so it'll be great to see another one on the grid. That'll make 4 of them, because the other one is Kim Such and Dennis Van Beelen, cars 29 and 69. Flash of the lights there from PJ Clysons in the Peter X-Jan BE Racing machine. He did change to the BMW just to see what it was like, and it's not giving him anything there, is it? He's backing out, you can see now, to leave a gap because he knows that he's not got long left of this session to clout the curbs or get a time on the board. Now the drivers were warned ahead of time not to run out wide on that left-hand side to get a run, but look at that. Even there, PJ cannot get the run out of that final corner in the BMW. It's crazy because the BMW is such a competitive race car. It's won so many championships, so many races. It's crazy how times change for a specific car when it comes to GT3 racing. That was Daniel Parent-Smith moving out of the way as PJ really struggling to get to grips with this Beamer. It is an absolute pig by the look of it. I mean, I know it looks like one at the front, but it's behaving like one as well. What about Lewis Ward? Currently third fastest at the moment behind Watson and Thurtle. That is Jake Cranstone off the road. We've not looked at Jake yet. And the first time we see him in shot really is off the track, so not having the smoothest ride of it. Drew Fletcher improves, goes up to 11th, just ahead of Daniel Parent-Smith in the SRM Black Ferrari. Only 3 minutes left on the clock here, so not long left to go at all. You can see just how slidey and twitchy the cars are absolutely everywhere on the circuit. Let's go on board with Simon Povey, shall we, and see what he makes of this as he comes to Stowe at the end of the lap. There's a car on the apex. That was Kim Such. Simon prays and hopes that he'll get out of the way and continues on. Now heads on to the brakes into this final chicane. It's going to be so difficult to get the car to behave out of there. You've got to be really cautious on the throttle and then mind the curbs as well. They're going to be extra slippy. Simon crosses the line. I believe that was an outlap for him. No, he actually does improve a 102.601, but doesn't gain a place as a result. Tim Perry improves as well. 8th position for him, a 102.611. Even this first sector here looks mighty tricky, doesn't it? Ben Idris Abdullahi, the next driver to improve. There's a car around. That is Arthur Thurtle in the Corvette. He has a spin. Only a pair of Corvettes in the series, and Simon and Arthur showing that it can be a competitive car. And now look, Arthur getting in the way of Tim Perry, or not necessarily getting in the way, but helping his teammate out as he gives him slipstream down towards Stowe. Nils Cora's got a green sector 1. Can he complete that final sector with another green and improve on his lap time? No, 103.065 for Nils Cor. Povey just ahead of us here as we ride on board with Tim Perry. Actually, no, that's the Mustang of Dan McCauley just up the road. Lee Berridge doesn't improve on his best time. Tim Perry a little wide out the final corner, ensures that the car doesn't go outside of track limits. It's a 102.7. Christopher Jennings in his Lamborghini improves, just behind Arthur on the circuit actually. Chris now in 13th position. He heads down onto the brakes and deep into the tight right-hander. Dennis Van Beelen improves, gets himself a little bit further inside the top 10. Certainly does look tricky and slippy out there, doesn't it? It's going to be very interesting to see how the slipstream works down this back straight for everyone. Daniel Parent-Smith, the next one to improve. He goes 11th on the timing tower, but that will be 10th position. In the it looks very light, doesn't it, the Ferrari? It looks like it's made of very thin plastic to me. I don't know what it is, but it just doesn't look like it'd be hunkered down to the ground, especially when you look at the likes of the Lamborghini, which looks like a heavy car. It looks like it's got some serious weight behind it and some bulk. Simon Povey has gone up to 2nd position ahead of Arthur Thurtle and split the two Altitude Esports machines. He'll be happy with that. There's only mere seconds left on the clock now. Chris Jennings has already crossed the line. Drew Fletcher also. Can Ben Idris Abdullahi complete his lap? He can. And it's an improvement as well, up into 9th place right at the end. Lewis Ward does not improve. Cranstone right at the death, up into 11th. And that is the end of quali. And the crowd, as you can hear, rather large here at Silverstone. And as the session ticks over, we'll get gridding up for the first time this evening. It's Adam Watson on pole position with Simon Povey alongside him on the front row. Arthur Thurtle and Lewis Ward make up row 2. ahead of Dan McCauley and Nils Kaur, the two Mustangs on the third row. Tim Perry in the McLaren is alongside Ben Idris Abdullahi's Mercedes. Then we have Callum Brandt in the Audi alongside Christopher Rowe in the Porsche. Daniel Parron-Smith will start 11th with Drew Fletcher alongside him on the 6th row, ahead of Dennis Van Beelen and Chris Jennings. Jake Cranstone is down there in 15th place apparently, but I'm sure that time would have counted right at the end. We'll have to see. Ben Chalcraft in 16th position, Lee Berridge 17th and Mark Johnson 18th. Martin Kenyon and Heinz Mayer complete the top 20 drivers. We then have Kim Such and John Roberts with Simon Price and John Higgins Jr. together. As you see, John's time was only enough for 24th place. Ryan Penny will start in 25th with PJ Clyson's 1.7 seconds off in 26th. Clearly not getting on well with that BMW at all. Trying to go on board with Adam Watson, but seems like he's not on the grid yet. We have Simon Povey in the Corvette. And then if we change further back to the Mustang of Nils Kaur, making a hell of a racket. Very gloomy and foggy though here at Silverstone, isn't it? It's not to the point where visibility is an issue though, but it certainly gives off winter vibes here in the UK, that's for sure. Makes a great noise, doesn't it, that Mustang? Here's the Masters of Torque Mercedes. Jake Cranston starting down in 15th position. He'll be a bit fuming with that one, considering that he just about got 11th place over the line. But from here, he's going to have a little bit more work to do, some more places to gain. Adam Watson then will lead the field away. The pace car gets moving, and it's Lamborghini versus Corvette on the front row. Arthur Thurtle in third place. He's going to be alongside Lewis Ward in the Porsche, and then it's those two Mustangs forming a rather large wall on that third row of the grid. But Adam Watson once again impressing everybody here. He took pole position, was fastest of every session at Donington Park, and then won both races. Can he do the same tonight? We head round the final corner then. It's up to the leader when to go. We've determined another start procedure. And Adam Watson is away. So underway goes round 7 of the SRM GT3 Winter Tour by Derbyshire Holiday Homes. And they go single file for the majority down the order. Ben Idris Abdullahi there looking down the inside of Tim Perry in the Mercedes and the McLaren right together. Chris Jennings overtaken there by Lee Berridge. But a very tidy start at the very front of the pack. And it's Simon Povey in second position. Lewis Ward just behind. Dan McCauley in the thick of it with Nils Kaur. Jake Cranstone has gained 2 places already off the very start of this race. He's now right behind Drew Fletcher. And he's going to want to get the job done sooner rather than later. John Higgins Jr. and John Roberts, neither of them actually taking the start of the race by the look of it, unfortunately. Jake now into the slipstream. Look at the slipstream effect there as he tries to go past the Porsche. Just in front as well, it was Daniel Parron-Smith and Christopher Rowe side by side. Parron-Smith down the inside and the Ferrari gets it done. Runs a little bit wider than Mark, but nothing too untoward there. Good move by Daniel. Keeps the car ahead as the battle continues on there. Jake Cranston around the outside of Drew Fletcher to then get the inside for the final corner, but Drew then continues around the outside, getting very brave there. Great stuff side by side with the pair of them, and look at this, Dennis Van Beelen into the mix as well. As we've got a car off, Ben Chalcraft. Chalcraft off into the barriers. Or is he in the wall? Has he managed to keep it out the wall? Seems like the McLaren is straight on all corners, but he continues on. John reporting that it was his internet that broke. Sorry to hear it, John. I've been avoiding everything I possibly could. As Parron-Smith. Parron-Smith is around. He's got damage on that front right corner by the look of it. And he's out. Parron-Smith out of the race already on lap 2 in the Ferrari. Arthur Thurtle side by side with Lewis Ward round Stowe. Lewis trying to cling to any bit of grip that he can find in that lovely looking Porsche. But yeah, like I said, I've been avoiding any information or spoilers that I possibly could have done since yesterday evening when the race was on. Been avoiding all messages on Discord and all sorts except for certain things. Look at the car there being corrected by Dan McCauley. Really, really stepping it off. Great noise, lovely sights and sounds on board the Mustang, one way then the other. Thurtle just keeping the car in the middle of the road there. A great queue of cars here actually, with Callum Brandt at the back of this, trying to find his way past the big old Mercedes of Ben Idris Abdullahi. It's such a tentative corner, that right-hander, because look at how much road you can get away with using. You never really want to be right out there on the grass though. It's really easy once you're on the power to spin the rears. Well, Callum actually dropping away from that group a little bit there, to be honest with you. I think PJ Clysons has just had a bit of a drama there. He's lost a place. Ben Chalcraft just behind. Ahead of them there's a battle. The Oris team all together. Oris Racing, Kim Such, Oris Digital, Ryan Penny, and Oris Racing, Heinz Mayer. 3 different cars, all battling with each other in the lower reaches. Another fastest lap by Adam Watson. Lick of flame from the McLaren of Ryan Penny there as, oh no, Heinz has clipped the back of his teammate. Heinz clips the back of Ryan Penny. Ryan manages to get going. He probably just wanted to warm the car up, to be honest, with how cold it is out there on track. We look further forward though. Simon Povey second position at the moment. But Adam Watson is once again showing everybody what he can do in this Lamborghini, leading the way. Lewis Ward third, Arthur Thurtle fourth. Lewis did eventually get that move completed, it seems. And now Arthur is under attack from the Freedom machines of Dan McCauley and Nils Kaur, riding on board with Nils. Trying to just tidy the car up round Stowe. It's a very smooth, lovely noise from this angle, but it's when you're actually on the external cameras, you can hear just how raspy they are. Listen. Sounds absolutely brilliant. It's like a pair of Merlin engines and a couple of Spitfires going past. Jake Cranstone just behind Drew Fletcher still after their battle earlier on. Ben Chalcraft saying he couldn't resist one of the trackside burger vans. They are gourmet. Gourmet indeed. I spent half of my weekend at one when I commentated on the Citroen C1 24-hour race at Silverstone a couple of years ago. There was one right behind my commentary box. And let me tell you, I lived there. On board now with Lee Berridge in the Ferrari. He's got Dennis Van Beelen next up in front of him. He's in the Audi, then it's a Mercedes, and then a Porsche. He's got a Lamborghini behind him as well in the form of Chris Jennings. One of the best bits about this series has been just how well spread all the manufacturers have been. The popularity ballast certainly working in our favour as, PJ Clysons is having a miserable night in this Beamer. He's just had a spin, gets back going again, but he is not having a good time in that car. Povey does a personal best lap, closes in on Adam Watson a little bit there. The gap is now down to just a quarter of a second. We go on board with Adam and look behind them as well. You've got Lewis Ward waiting in the wings for something to happen. He's certainly going to be ready to pounce. Lewis is a very opportunistic driver. We've seen some excellent patience displayed by him before. That's what's won him 2 GT4 championships here in SRM. We know that he's got the capability. But that capability is not just down to outright pace. It is the full package from Lewis Ward. These guys, it feels from this angle, really struggling to get the cars rotating. There does come a point where the track is that cold that it's not actually helping the cars, and you just can't get temperature in the tyres anymore. It just does not behave itself. We've got side-by-side action further down here. Martin Kenyon and Mark Johnson glued to each other. Pertamina versus Castrol. And Martin Kenyon gets it done down the inside. On the left, Nils Kaur and Dan McCauley have changed around. Tim Perry having a bit of a blink in and out there as well. Not quite sure what's gone on there, but Nils Kaur getting it done. Look at Ben Idris Abdullahi around the outside in the Mercedes, trying just about everything he can do there. Late on the brakes. Now he's got the inside line. Oh, he's run wide though and clipped Tim. Oh, the two of them are off big time. And into the barrier goes the McLaren. Oh, I think Ben just either overestimated it and ran wide, or Tim squeezed him. Hard to tell from that angle though. But that is a big, big shame for the pair of them. Simon Povey has been closed in on here by Lewis Ward. The Corvette may look angry. I think it actually looks quite happy as well at the same time. But that Porsche is a very sort of gormless face on it. It looks very focused right now. I'm not sure how gormless Lewis is looking, but he's certainly trying to chase down his fellow champion of the SRM GT4 Challenge, that is. This top three, well, they're not completely alone because Arthur Thurtle is sat there in 4th position, just behind Lewis. And he wants to play as well. These conditions, though, mighty tricky. I think Adam Watson just had a bit of a wobble there. You know, he's lost a bit of time to Simon Povey through that sector. Back into the slipstream goes the Corvette. God, you can hear that Mustang from a mile away, can't you? The pair of them together is an absolute symphony, but then again you get the V10 of the Lamborghini, the flat 6 of the Porsche, and it looks like PJ Clyson's has pulled back to the pits. It's put him at the top of the timing. There you go, it's just popped him back down now. I know he did just disappear for a second there, actually. I think he just had a blink that put him at the other end of the circuit. But Adam Watson still holds on to this lead. You can't argue with it, can you? He's certainly got the mental fortitude, it seems. And that Lambo, I've said it before, it looks like a heavy, bulky car. It looks like it's really glued to the surface, to be honest with you. That's what makes its slides and spins all the more frustrating. The Corvette, on the other hand, it looks, again, like it's made of imitation cheese. Just seems like it's like one of them RC cars, you know, where the body's a little bit too big for the wheels. It just doesn't quite sit right. It's like someone's put the shell of a Corvette on a different car underneath. It never looks quite as planted to the ground. It looks nimble, it looks really lightweight, but it just never looks as glued as other cars. It's certainly one of the most glued cars when it comes to being up the top end of this championship. Arthur Thurtle, we ride on board with at the moment, is the current championship leader. As they come out of the final corner and across the line, we start another lap here with 20.5 minutes of the race left to go. Jake Cranstone still in the thick of this. Dennis Van Beelen just behind him in the Audi. There's another Audi a bit further up the order. Callum Brandt is 2.6 seconds clear. Lee Berridge is in a little bit of no man's land as well. Same with Martin Kenyon. He's got a bit of a gap back to Mark Johnson. Tim Perry continuing on after his incident earlier on. He has said in the chat that he had some wheel damage for the remainder. Ben Idris Abdullahi has also carried on, but it does say he's been into the pit lane, so I think he had to come in and get that damage fixed, unfortunately. You do get points down to 15th position, which means that Mark Johnson will get the last championship point in this race, but he will also start on reverse grid pole position for race 2 in his McLaren. You really do feel low down to the ground in this McLaren, more than in the other cars, as Kenyon goes a little bit deep into the chicane. Can Mark get a run? Well, he's kept it quite tight into the second to last corner there. Listen to how hesitant they're having to be through there. Mark following as closely as he dares to the back of Kenyon. That Lamborghini looks brilliant from here, doesn't it? There's some movement a bit further up. Oh, never mind movement, it's a spin. Drew Fletcher around on the exit of turn 3. He was fighting away with Dennis Van Beelen and Lee Berridge. Doesn't look like there's any damage to the car. Just maybe a little bit to Drew's ego. Back to the front though, and Povey is suddenly attacking Adam Watson. They're side by side almost for this race lead now. Adam's having to put the car in the right place at the right time here to stop Povey getting the run. And right now Lewis Ward is in the perfect place because these two could battle really hard. And Lewis could be the one to to benefit from this. It'd be great if I could speak English tonight, wouldn't it? But Watson holding on at this moment in time. Lewis Ward, 3rd position, wants a piece of this. Hard onto the brakes they go. Look at Arthur Thurtle as well, closing in on the brakes. Oh, Simon slightly out of shape there, loses ground and also slows Lewis down in the process. That is perfect if you are Adam Watson. That's exactly what he'll want from this Lamborghini. He'll be looking in the mirrors and he'll be thinking, right, they're going to have a fight now, surely. I put money on Lewis waiting behind Simon though. Lewis knows that Adam could get away if he was undisturbed. They need to be right behind him, putting the pressure on. What about Arthur Thurtle in all of this? He's not playing the long game. Look at that, down the inside from Thurtle on Lewis Ward into the braking zone. A bit of contact between the two of them. Don't think Lewis expected him to stay alongside like that, and now they are the ones that have lost time and lost ground to Povey. Now, does that unleash Povey to attack Watson? We'll have to wait and see, but we need to keep an eye on this. Side by side, Arthur so close to Lewis. I've heard from a couple of drivers that Arthur's great to race against because he gets so close, but it's so respectful at the same time. Hard but fair racing, and that's exactly what we want. Looks like we're seeing some of that here with Lewis Ward. Still not even at the halfway point of this race yet. I don't think tyres will be an issue with the drivers, but then again, this circuit can be considered quite attritional because the first couple of corners are very high speed. We've got some very long, tight corners as well. You've also got Stowe here where that front left, and the final corner as well, where that front left will be getting absolutely chewed up. It will not feel brilliant. Kenyon and Johnson are still battling for 14th and 15th place. They're the last two spots inside the points, and also first and second on the grid for race 2. Look in the background here, Nils Kaur is on the scene, leading the Mustang Brigade. Dan McCauley following on behind him. It's a very long car, isn't it? It is like a cross-channel ferry, or even more fittingly, an aircraft carrier, I think is the best way to describe the Mustang. Got a bit of a battle going on further down. Simon Price and Heinz Mayer are close together. Simon just trying to keep the BMW on track as, oh, Kim Such getting the Audi back on track. Listen. Very good sounding car as, oh, Mark Johnson has lost 15th position. Tim Perry has got ahead of him. Fellow McLaren driver recovering after his big incident earlier. And now he moves up into 15th place. That will give him pole position for race 2. Can he play the system here? Now this is the battle for the lead. Adam Watson still just in front of Simon Povey. 0.3 of a second back now. Lewis Ward has actually dropped just outside of the slipstream from Simon Povey. So he's not going to be getting any of that delicious tow down the back straight. No, I've not got a thing for feet. But Lewis and Arthur, if you're Arthur now, you've got to be thinking, do you battle, do you not? Do you try and get in front to try and drag him ahead to the car in the lead? Or do you leave him for a few laps and just see what he can do? Bit of a difficult one, isn't it, to call this? But it's Adam Watson still holding on. We're into the second half of the race now. 14 3/4 minutes left to go. McLaren's 15th to 18th, says Ben. Yeah, fantastic representation for all the McLarens all together. Perry, Johnson, Penny and Chalcraft. Really impressed though by Adam Watson and Simon Povey so far in this race. The guys behind were brilliant, but that battle really closed them up. And once again here, I have to point out that when you ride on board with a Corvette, it seems like it's micro inputs from Simon Povey. You've got to think this car is right on the edge. And a lot of these GT3s are, you really can't overdo them. Big chunk of curb on the right hand side there for Simon Povey and Adam Watson. Oh, Simon goes to turn in a little bit early there on the right hand side. Loses a bit of ground as a result. You can't always get deterred by that run though down towards Stowe, because the car in front naturally looks like it pulls away from you there. I've raced in a few series where we've come to this circuit and I've always thought, why can't I get the run out of there? But it's just natural sort of accordion effect as the cars close up and separate. Another quick shout out to our championship sponsors, Derbyshire Holiday Homes, the title sponsor of the SRM GT3 Winter Tour by Derbyshire Holiday Homes. Big thank you to Oris Analytics as well, Heinz Mayer and his crew. Heinz once again jumping on board with some of the awards for this season, which has been massively appreciated. And of course Alex Johns as well as Bespoke Shelters, the third sponsor of the championship. Big thanks to all of you for your involvement and your continued support. Lewis Ward is going to be fed up of Arthur Thurtle's continued support at this point. He's trying to hold on for a podium finish. And Arthur is not going anywhere, is he? He's not disappearing from behind that Porsche. The two Mustangs still very much in the mix, but not close enough to make a move yet. It's a very menacing car to have behind you, though, so I know that Arthur will be glancing in his mirror every so often, because that rolling thunderstorm of Nils Corr and Dan McCauley is on its way. May not be raining yet, but it looks like it will do once those things close in on you. It'll rain freedom and barbecue. Back to the front, though. We'll go back on board with Adam Watson. And this is the clear track ahead of him here. By clear, I mean very foggy. It's very hard at Silverstone to pick out a lot of the sort of braking markers and details in the circuit because of how flat it is. And over here as well, there's a slight crest back down towards the right-hander and then on to the back straight. Listen to this thing, though. What a great racket the Lamborghini Huracan makes. Absolutely lovely sounding bit of kit. Oh, Adam having to correct it slightly there on the exit of Stowe. There has been a move behind, actually. Arthur Thurtle is around. Arthur Thurtle has had a spin towards the end of the lap. And Nils Corr, Dan McCauley and Callum Brandt have gone through. What about Jake Cranstone? No, he is not close enough to get by. But Arthur Thurtle dropping positions, dropping the car at the end of the lap. He will be beating himself up about that one. We stick with this Lamborghini at the very front of the field because you can't discount Simon Povey at this point. I know that he's had a rough ride in the GT3s so far, and he had a very rough ride of the GT4 Challenge last season as well. But it never takes away Simon's pace and capability. He's one of the finest that the community has had. I say that like he's leaving. But he's really closing in on Adam now. You can see just a double tap of the brakes there by Adam just to help the car rotate that extra bit, just to feather it. Getting closer and closer now is Povey. Lewis Ward has a decent bit of breathing room in front of him now to just attack. Instead of worrying about Thurtle, though, he might have to worry about Nils Corr before long, because the Mustang is there, ready to pounce. It's great to see, though, Simon Povey, Lewis Ward and Nils Corr second, third and fourth on the road. And they are, in order as well, SRM GT4 Challenge champions. Because Simon Povey won Season 1, Lewis Ward won Seasons 2 and 3, and then Nils Corr won Season 4. Jake Cranstone, the newest champion of the SRM GT4 Challenge. 7 places gained from 15th on the grid for him at the moment. A great run so far. Lee Berridge next up. Povey tucked right in the slipstream now of Adam Watson. Let's see how he goes about this, shall we? Tries to go around the outside here at Stowe, then tries to cut back on him. Nothing doing, though. Adam seemingly remaining unfazed at the minute. He puts the car a little bit more towards the middle of the road. He's just defending this as well as he can. 9 minutes still to go, though, so this race is far from over. We're only just into the final third of this one here in the SRM GT3 Winter Tour by Derbyshire Holiday Homes here on Chaz Draycott Media. Thanks to those of you that have joined the show so far. Hope you're all enjoying it. It's great to have some of the drivers in the mix as well on a night like tonight. With this as live broadcast, this race actually happened yesterday. But Adam Watson, oh so impressive, continuing to defend. Let's go on board with the thunderstorm, shall we? Nils Corr pounding this Mustang around. Up through the gears he goes. Makes a lot of very good noises. It's a bit of an orchestra of sound, isn't it? That Mustang. Lee Berridge is closing in on Christopher Rowe. Lee's gained 6 positions in this race so far. He's going to be hoping to make it even more than that as he moves up into the top 10. Or hopes to move into the top 10 anyway. Christopher Rowe just holding on in that 555 Porsche. He's got his teammate Dennis Van Beelen just ahead. Flipping out, take some of the curb with you next time, Lee. That was a big old clout of that curb. Simon Povey's just done his personal best sector 1. Yeah, there is something about people looping back into the pits. It says PJ Clysons has done an 8-second first sector and gone purple, as there is Ben Idris Abdullahi in the Mercedes down the inside of Kim Such to head back up into 19th place on his recovery drive. Inside the points at the moment now is Tim Perry. He's in 15th place with what's left of this McLaren, and that will give him reverse grid pole position still. He's not done anything about overtaking Martin Kenyon at this moment in time, but he can't let anything lie now because Mark Johnson isn't too far behind either. He wants to take that place away from him, and he wants reverse grid pole instead. Looking at the weather though, you can see it's only 21 degrees track temperature. It's mighty cold. 8 o'clock in the sim as well, so it's not going to get any warmer. It is quite the evening race, is this one. As, oh, here is the move actually by Simon Povey. He's trying it anyway on Adam Watson. I thought he was going to try and get a cutback there, but they were a lot further around the corner than I first anticipated. Lewis Ward could definitely get drawn into this, you know. He's going to be rubbing his hands together as soon as Simon goes for a move. It's very clear that Simon wants to go for a move, but he hasn't been able to just yet. Again, is Adam going to put the car in the middle of the road? No. He says, look, Simon's not close enough. I'm not going to bother defending now. All that does is just show that you've realised that you're under attack and that you feel that you need to defend. It shows off a lot of body language. Across the line they go. Top 3 still separated by less than a second. Welcome to the SRM GT3 Winter Tour by Derbyshire Holiday Homes, everyone. It is so close in this series already, with just a couple of meetings under our belts. This will be rounds 7 and 8 of the championship. 16 races over the course of this season we have planned, as Idris Abdullahi continues on his merry way. Overtakes another Oris car, this time Ryan Penny's McLaren. Ryan had a little moment of his own just a couple of laps ago, it seemed. Now Ben having to defend, but we need to go back on board with Lewis Ward because he has closed in on this lead duo once again. He's got 1.1 seconds over Nils Kaur. Nils not able to stay with him at this stage, but Lewis has been helped out here by the slipstream from these two cars in front battling. And now with just 5 minutes left on the clock here at Silverstone, we have a battle on for the race lead between 3 very, very fast drivers in 3 very different cars as well. The Porsche chasing down the Corvette, chasing down the Lamborghini, all drivers in different teams as well. No allegiance in any form between any of these 3. How will this one pan out? We have no idea. There's a car there actually just in front as, oh goodness me, that's Simon Price, and Adam Watson's just driven into the back of him. What on earth was that about? Now we could see that Simon was there. I'm not sure if Adam just didn't anticipate it or what. That is devastating for Watson. Devastating for Simon as well. He was trying to mind his own business. It looked like he'd had a mistake out of the corner or something. But wow, that is what's cost Adam Watson the race lead. Nils Kaur is now close up behind him. Simon Povey leads for Spontex CDM Esports. That is a huge, huge shame. Not how you want to see that lead change hands. But now, can Lewis Ward do something about this? Now we've got Simon just in front. Is he all of a sudden going to feel the pressure of this? We know Simon doesn't really crumble under pressure. Neither does Lewis, though. This is the thing. This is a big battle of mental fortitude between these pair. Adam Watson is not out of the mix, though. Let's not forget. He is still very much in this fight. He's only 0.7 of a second behind Lewis Ward, who we ride on board with now. 3 minutes left to go in this race. We should get 3 more laps of Silverstone International. Wow, listen to that. I really didn't want to engage down the gearbox there. Did it for Lewis Ward. Simon just... Oh, hello. Adam ran a bit wide there. I do wonder if he's got any damage on this Lamborghini and whether it is going to be feeling slightly backside-ish. But it's good that he's still in the running at least. He's still going to bag some important points from this. At the end of the day, though, Adam came off the reserve list partway into the season, so he doesn't get as many drop rounds as the other drivers. The other drivers get 2 drop rounds, which is an entire meeting's worth of points. The rule was brought in the belief that it'll help those that can't make a certain race night, and when you don't make race night in a series like this, you miss 2 races. So we scratched the entire evening off, hence we have them available as drop meetings. Drew Fletcher here on track has got Lee Berridge. There he is, just in front of him in the Ferrari. Lee Berridge has come under pressure from Drew, actually. Drew has passed Chris Jennings and made his way up to the back of the Ferrari. And see whether the 117 machine can get back into the top 10, because he was right behind Christopher Rowe earlier and has since not made any further progress. Back on board with Nils Kaur, 4th place for him at the moment. He's got the walking wounded Adam Watson just ahead of him. Adam doing a good job to keep the car on the straight and narrow. Oh no, as soon as I look away from Drew Fletcher, he's had a moment. It's dropped him down to 15th position. Can he stay ahead of Mark Johnson to hold on for that reverse grid pole? Yeah, remains to be seen. 1 lap to go. And Johnson suddenly closing in on Fletcher. Drew didn't get the run out of that final corner that he would have wanted, despite being wider of the mark. So we'll see who will get that final championship point. Johnson puts his nose down the inside. Drew half comes across and says no thank you. But at the very front, car number 10, Simon Povey, heads round the final corner to start what will be the last lap, just ahead of Lewis Ward, Adam Watson and Nils Kaur, the top 4 all together. But Povey right now, well, he may not have made the overtake as such on Adam without a bit of interference, but he'll be happy at the fact that he was leading. He won't have wanted to take it that way. And Adam, of course, won't have wanted to lose it that way, but like I said, it's still great that he's in the fight and able to still run in 3rd position here. Nils Kaur in 4th place just hasn't had the pace to stick with those guys and really creep up to the back of them. He's had the slipstream that has kept him in the fight, but he's just not been able to get the overtakes done. But into the final couple of corners, it's been a bit of a while since I've been able to say this, but as he heads around the final corner, round 7 of the SRM GT3 Winter Tour by Derbyshire Holiday Homes goes the way of Simon Povey for Spontex CDM Esports, Lewis Ward in 2nd place for Apex Racing Academy, Adam Watson next up, Nils Kaur and Dan McCauley will round out the top 5. Callum Brandt finishes in 6th place, Arthur Thurtle stays in 7th with Jake Cranstone 15th to 8th. What a drive that is, and he's going to start around there in the 2nd race. Dennis Van Beelen in 9th, Christopher Rowe 10th, Lee Berridge finishes 11th ahead of Chris Jennings. Martin Kenyon will finish 13th. Tim Perry is going to cross the line in 14th, and is Drew Fletcher? Yes, he is. Drew Fletcher's going to beat Mark Johnson to the line, and that will mean that Drew gets the last championship point of the race and reverse grid pole position. But Simon Povey wins for the first time in a while here on Chaz Draycott Media. Like I said, not the way he would have wanted to take that race victory, but he'll still be buzzing all the same, as you can see, weaving the wheel one way, then the other. Flash of the lights there by Callum Brandt to say well done, and a flashback by Simon to say, well, I hope, thank you very much. And with that, the session ticks over to the warm-up, which is a 10-minute session. Going to go to a quick advert break here on Chaz Draycott Media. Need to go and get myself a drink. Soloing this does take its toll on your throat, so please bear with me a few minutes, everybody, and I'll be right back with you, and we'll go into the warm-up and then into race 2. 4 French drivers at the French Grand Prix trying to win this on the final lap. The 3 wide again, Guillaume down the inside. Guillaume moves across, they're both in front of Milan and
But
Pouget.
before you know it, we find ourselves here in the very final race of the competition.
And then they see truck racing and they think, this is crazy. You know, these are 5-ton machines, 1,200 horsepower brake.
Oh, look at that switchback. Oh, he's been mugged and it's ready to go off. All the way from back there. Go on board with Ben Gregory now. I love it. 10.5 minutes gone. Senna Lanson tries to go for the race lead.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series in officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Hello again everybody, Chaz Draycott here for the Sim Racing Magazine GT3 Winter Tour by Derbyshire Holiday Homes, and after the first race of the night we have our first set of results. Simon Povey takes his first win of the season ahead of Lewis Ward and Adam Watson after a bit of controversy towards the end of the race. Niels Kaur finishes in 4th place with his Mustang compatriot Dan McCauley in 5th. Callum Brandt finishes in 6th place in the Audi after a bit of a lonely race ahead of Arthur Thurtle in 7th. Jake Cranstone finishes 8th, Dennis Van Beelen in 9th, and Christopher Rowe completing the top 10. We then had Lee Berridge and Chris Jennings, with Martin Kenyon in 13th, Tim Perry in 14th position, and Drew Fletcher, importantly, taking the final championship point there. He will start from pole position for race 2. Mark Johnson was next in 16th ahead of Ben Chalcraft in 17th after his early incident. Seemed like that was normal if your name was Ben, because Idris Abdullahi had one opening on in the race as well. Ryan Penny in 19th and Kim Such the last car on the lead lap. Then we had Heinz Mayer, Simon Price, PJ Clysons, Daniel Parron-Smith, John Roberts and John Higgins Jr. not taking the start of that race. And with beautiful timing and the fact that because this is a replay file we can speed up warm-up sessions, the session now ticks over and we will head into the next race. We do have a grid, however, by the look of it, it's going to give us the race 1 grid. If I bring up the graphic, yes it is. That gives us Adam Watson. That's something that we had last time. So what I can tell you is that we have Ben Chalcraft starting here just behind Simon Povey. you can see that we're going to have Mark Johnson just there in 16th on the left-hand side of the grid. Pole position is actually going to be taken up, of course, by Drew Fletcher, as we mentioned earlier on. Drew finishing that race in 15th position. Martin Kenyon just behind him. And alongside him on the front row, Tim Perry as well. Tim, potentially, with no disrespect to Drew or anyone around them, Tim a potential favourite for this. He's a front runner in the series when it comes to pace. I think it's very possible that Tim could take the victory with this one. Martin Kenyon and Chris Jennings on the second row of the grid. Then it's Lee Berridge and Christopher Rowe. Dennis Van Beelen is alongside Jake Cranstone. Arthur Thurtle is then alongside Callum Brandt in the Audi. Then it's the two Mustangs once again, Dan McCauley and Nils Kaur. And then Adam Watson and Simon Povey are the next few cars. So the leader decides when they go. And before you know it, we're going to head round the final corner, and it's title sponsor Drew Fletcher that gets us underway for round 8 of the Sim Racing Magazine GT3 Winter Tour by Derbyshire Holiday Homes. And Tim Perry instantly goes on the attack here, moves down the inside towards turn 1, puts his nose down the inside. Drew says, "Not on your life, son, I'm going to hang it round the outside." Brave stuff from Fletcher. Everybody else keeping it as tidy as they can. And now as they head into the first heavy braking zone of the race, let's see what shenanigans unfold, shall we? I'm going to be flicking through the cameras quite a lot here very quickly. But no, it all seems good there. Tim Perry has got the move done, though. He's got it done in the opening sector on Drew Fletcher. Now it's Martin Kenyon that wants to try and fill that gap instead and move through into second position. He's got Lee Berridge's Ferrari right behind him. Then Chris Jennings in the Audi. Then Christopher Rowe in the Porsche. And it's all very nip and tuck as Lee Berridge goes down the inside into third place. Can the Ferrari outdo the Lambo? He gives plenty of room for Martin to come back on. Actually, Martin as well, using the run on that outside line to get rid of the overlap. Side by side just behind them as well. Dennis Van Beelen down the inside of Chris Jennings. Both a fan of having stripes down the middle of their cars and 5.2 litre V10s in the back, it seems. And that is Arthur Thurtle behind with Dan McCauley. What about our race winner, Adam Watson? He's side by side with Callum Brandt. A big wobble and a bit of contact between the two. Povey wants to take advantage as he just made it 3 wide. He's gone down the inside. Nils Kaur's on his outside there as well. Lewis Ward trying to watch on with all of this. Goodness me. Oh, Callum cuts the nose off. And look on his right. Ben Shalcraft's there as well. Lewis Ward goes deep. Oh, there's contact. I think that was Callum Brandt that he's maybe just had a bit of contact with. I'm not sure if that's broken anything on the Porsche, but it is Brandt that is off the road. Callum will be fuming with that one. He'll feel that he was definitely squeezed into that. Not sure whether they were 3 wide at the point of contact. Oh my God, they're going to be nearly 3 wide here as well, look. Arthur Thurtle, Jake Cranstone and Nils Kaur. Nils backs out of it. Chris Jennings on the outside. Everybody behave, everybody hold your breath. Keep your arms and legs inside the vehicle at all times. Still side by side there with Nils Kaur around the outside of Chris Jennings' Lamborghini. Simon Povey goes through as well, and Lewis Ward. Poor Chris has been freight trained there. Mark Johnson trying to come through as well. Then Ben Shalcraft in the McLaren. Wow, very, very busy stuff. But Tim Perry leads this race. Drew Fletcher has held on to second place for now. 0.7 of a second behind him. Martin Kenyon and Lee Berridge, though, third and fourth. Dennis Van Beelen and his teammate Christopher Rowe still stuck together. The two teammates are usually line astern, actually, the Audi and the Porsche. Then Dan McCauley. He's had a good start to the race. Adam Watson behind him, though. He's had an absolute belter, up to 8th place already from 15th on the grid. He's going to be hoping to continue that progress on. Got an inter-team battle again. Heinz Mayer and Ryan Penny side by side. Lamborghini on McLaren. Oh, a bit deep into there, actually, by Heinz. Manages to recover it. But very tidy in the opening laps by everyone. A little bit of contact between Callum Brandt and some of the other guys in the middle, but you know what? They did a magnificent, magnificent job. Fastest lap of the race by Dan McCauley on lap 2. Round the outside goes Callum Brandt on Kim Such. They've got Simon Price there, bringing the Frosters. No, Christopher Rowe's off. Christopher Rowe is off and into the barriers. That is at turn 1 in the Porsche. And he gets going again, reverses it out and cracks on. Huge shame that, though, for Christopher Rowe. Right up there inside the top 10 with his teammate. Lee Berridge is going to be looking in the mirrors right now, though, because it seems like Dennis Van Beelen is closing in on him for that 4th place. Doesn't look like Lee is putting Martin Kenyon under any immediate threat. There's still a long way left to go in this race. A bit further back, we've got Jake Cranstoun with Nils Kor, Simon Povey and Lewis Ward. Now, these are the 4 GT4 Challenge champions all together here. This is excellent. Look at this. And they're actually, no, they're not in chronological order either way. But Jake Cranstoun, 1 championship. Nils Kor, 1 championship. Simon Povey, 1 championship. And 2 for the man that we ride on board with right now, Lewis Ward. You've got to love that. Look at the speed that you can carry through these corners here in GT3 cars. It's excellent, isn't it? And hard onto the brakes. 4 of the fastest drivers that SRM has ever seen. And we have all 4 of them on the circuit at the same time. It's lovely to still have their participation in these championships. It's great to have so many lovely drivers in these series. You know, we've got such a great community here at SRM. Everyone works together very, very well. Everyone's very understanding, very patient. Ben Idris Abdullah, he's been having to be understanding and patient at the moment as well. Chalcraft not having the rub of the green there when it comes to grip through Stowe, having to stab the brakes to get the car to rotate. Hats off to Ben, though. He's actually just confirmed himself a top 5 spot in a GT4 series elsewhere on iRacing, which is going to give him some silverware as a result. Oh, Adam Watson has just lost a bit of ground to Arthur Thurtle. Not sure if he had a slide out of the final corner or maybe a slowdown penalty or something. But Adam just losing a little bit of ground there. Another quick shout out to our championship sponsors, Derbyshire Holiday Homes, Oris Analytics and Bespoke Shelters. Huge appreciation to all of you for the support that you give what we do here at SRM and on Chaz Draycott Media. One of those people being Drew Fletcher. He's raced for real around this circuit, I believe, in the Miata Trophy. And he's now closing back in on Tim Perry. Not sure if Tim's had a bit of a wobble somewhere, but certainly has lost a lot of ground to Drew on this lap. Let's see what the lap times are as they cross the line. Perry a 103.1. Drew does a personal best of 102.7. A lot of the drivers behind doing 103s. Jake Cranstoun has got fantastic company behind him, but he won't want them behind him. He'll want to be well clear of them based on previous results. But again, how cool is this to see? 4 different manufacturers with our 4 GT4 Challenge champions. We've got the Mercedes leading the Ford, leading the Corvette, leading the Porsche. Sorry, the Chevrolet leading the Porsche. Corvette is the car model, not the manufacturer. Well, if you look from the back of the Mercedes, it smells like freedom, with Nils Kor right there. Obviously the real freedom machine of Dan McCauley is further up the road in 6th place, but Nils, well, he's looking racy, isn't he, right now in the Satellite Racing Chicane Online Racing entry. Let's not forget that they are in a championship battle with Altitude Esports as well. Arthur Thurtle and Tim Perry putting up a hell of a fight in the championship standings there. As they head round the final corner again, there's still 22.5 minutes left of this race. Here's another battle further back. Ben Chalcraft just ahead of Callum Brandt. It's amazing how much that McLaren spits fire. I mean, I know that the 650S, no, not the 650S, sorry, the MP412C GT3, God, it's that old, I forgot what it was called. I know that can, oh no, Lee Berridge is off. Lee Berridge is off in the wall. And the Ferrari doesn't look like it's received major damage. Oh, never mind. It has had a hell of a biff on the front right corner. Lee Berridge, unfortunately, having his race heavily affected. All the Oris Matrix cars are together. Red pill, blue pill, white rabbit, all of it. All of them glued to each other right now. And it's Ryan Penny and Heinz Mayer, the boss man, that are side by side. Lamborghini down the inside of McLaren. All of them running wide. No, Heinz! Has he saved it? Oh, heck. Oh, dearie me. And then Berridge is collected. Berridge's race goes from bad to worse in less than a minute. Massive, massive shame Tim Perry leads the way. Drew Fletcher second, and then Martin Kenyon has got a hell of a train behind him right now. Look at these lot. That's side by side. Dan McCauley and Arthur Thurtle. No, McCauley's off the road now. Somehow he's managed to turn the Mustang around. I didn't know it was that strong, that Corvette. Well, Dan McCauley ends up facing the wrong way. Has to rejoin the circuit as safely as he can. We need to go further up because look at this lot. It's a 16-wheeled car at this point. I don't know what engine or chassis it's got, but it's just one 16-wheeled machine here. Simon Povey third in this group. Nils Kaur just in front in the Mustang. Jake Cranstone at the very head of it. And Lewis Ward yet again having to exercise patience and caution. Martin Kenyon's dropping down. Kenyon's off. Kenyon's had a spin in the Lamborghini. I was saying that he had a big queue of drivers up behind him. Not sure whether the pressure got to him or whether there was contact. He's now going to try and rejoin as safely as he can. It's never easy to rejoin at that part of the track. Callum Brandt does his best to stay out of the way. Watson is now close behind Dennis Van Beelen. Now they're all falling off the road. Adam Watson wants a piece of this. He's down the inside of the Audi. Arthur Thurtle wants to stay back with these guys though and try and pick this apart as well. Adam tries to get this done as cleanly as possible on Dennis. Oh, I don't know if there was a touch there or not, or whether that was just Dennis out of shape. Either way, Arthur Thurtle's just crept through, and this lot just behind it could also become a part of it. Still 20 minutes left to go in this race. I cannot believe the amount of action we're seeing already. Thurtle side by side with Van Beelen. Dennis carrying that car beautifully around the outside. Can he keep it all the way around the outside? There's still an overlap. Arthur's giving him the space. What was it Fernando Alonso said? Down the inside, Van Beelen cuts him off, says, yeah, have some of that, son. Lovely driving that by Dennis Van Beelen, keeping Arthur Thurtle championship leader behind. Then it's side by side with Nils Kaur and Jake Cranstone. Oh, it's a hell of a wobble. I held onto my desk then as Dennis Van Beelen had a bit of a wiggle. Simon Povey's in the thick of all of that as well. Lewis Ward is in this too. This is a great train of cars. Adam Watson wants all this to just carry on so he can clear off in third position. Drew Fletcher is 1.2 seconds give or take behind Tim Perry, although he just had a bit of a blink in and out for a second there. Mark Johnson has just lost a place, I think, to Dan McCauley. And now he's lost a bit of ground as well to Callum Brandt. Arthur Thurtle and Dennis Van Beelen take two. Thurtle much further ahead at the apex this time round. Gets the car in front. Nils Kaur and Simon Povey are all over each other as well. Flipping heck. It's absolutely mad. It's like speed dating. They're all just chopping and changing very quickly. Oh, Simon's trying. Oh, no. I've not got words. I have not got words. This is absolutely bonkers. Still, Arthur Thurtle is at the front of this now. Can he break away if Van Beelen becomes a bit of a cork in the bottle to the others? Dennis has got great pace. And he's definitely got the defensive abilities over these guys as well, as we've seen. I must admit as well, iRacing have changed the lighting right now, so the sort of bloom that you get off the front of these cars isn't as prominent as it once was, and it looks so much better now. Because they used to have this sort of pre-rendered image from the headlights that was like this fake little glow. And now they've really dumbed it down. You can still see it from this sort of angle, but it looks so much better now. Thank you iRacing for sorting that out, because it was the one thing I really hated about any time the headlights came on these cars. Not sure what it'll look like when it's actually dark, but we'll have to wait and see. Look at this lot. Like I said, it was one 16-wheeled car earlier on. It's still so close. Lewis Ward right behind Nils Kaur. Ducks out to the left as quickly as he can. Jake Cranstone is doing a wonderful job of holding on to this. Oh, Chris Jennings has just had a bit of a blink in and out. Lewis Ward goes deep into the hairpin, trying to get the better of Nils Kaur. Has he done that? Lovely bit of driving around the outside. Side by side now with the Mustang. The number 15 machine clings to the inside of the corner. Povey's going to potentially get a run on both of these guys now as well. He's going to have the front row seat to this battle. Whoa, Lewis came over to the right, then realised what he was doing. Throws the car back over to the left. Nils Kaur on the brakes, throws the car to the inside line as best he can. Oh, look at him tucking it in. These cars show off such great body language here on iRacing. And whoa, savage stuff by Lewis Ward. Nils says, I'm not having any of that, mate. I'm going to go back down the inside. Lewis covers the inside line for the right-hander. Povey wants to fill the gap, but he doesn't want to stick his nose in there and have too much risk. Oh, there's nearly contact there through the final corner as well. Nils has to take to the runoff on the left. Simon chooses slipstream on the right-hand side, then moves to the left-hand side. Nils is squeezed all the way over to the left. That's so close with Lewis Ward. The back end of the Porsche gets squirrely. Simon Povey squeezes down the inside, tap of the brakes to try and stabilise the car. Is Lewis still alongside enough to trigger the spotter? I think he is, and no. Simon round the outside gets it done. That was amazing racing by the three of them. Absolutely amazing racing. And that is why the three of them are champions in their own right. That was mega. Now Simon Povey's got the run on the Freedom Tower. Oh, he tries to go to the right. Oh, takes to the grass. There was no overlap, so he didn't need to do it. Now he tries to get the cut back. Can he tuck the Corvette in enough? Oh, no. Now he throws it up the inside of the Mustang, tries to go late on the brakes, but no, Nils has got it stopped, and he's going to park it on the apex as well. There's a bit of a touch. Lewis Ward having to get out of it also. Oh, that was borderline, wasn't it? That was scary. I'm holding my breath here. I hope you all are as well. I hope you're enjoying this here in the SRM GT3 Winter Tour by Derbyshire Holiday Homes. Around the first corner they go again with a bit of a reset. They get half a lap now to chill out slightly. Tim Perry still leading this race. The McLaren looks a lot cleaner than it did in race 1. Still got Drew Fletcher for company in second position. The Porsche going very well for him at the moment. He's got Adam Watson in third. Then it's Arthur Thurtle fourth. Dennis Van Beelen still in fifth. Oh, there's been an off for Christopher Rowe in the Porsche again. I think maybe the damage from the earlier accident still affecting him. You'd hope it wasn't, but it seems like that's not something that he can escape. Back on board with the Mustang of Dan McCauley. Them downshifts are absolutely savage. I've noticed that he's closing in on Ben Idris Abdullahi. He was on a similar-ish pace to him last time, but the pair of them are getting closer to that Nils Core, Simon Povey and Lewis Ward fight ahead. And considering Dan's had the spin and the recovery that he's had to have, I'm sure he'll be very pleased to see those guys just up the road as of right now. Watson's going well in third position. He's got a big old gap behind him, 2.7 seconds over his stablemate Arthur Thurtle in the Corvette. Drew Fletcher still holding on to second, is also just over 2 seconds up the road. So the top four, top five even, quite spread out. Jake Cranstone's doing his best to chase down Dennis Van Beelen. And then these three are still flexing as far as they can to have a good old ding-dong on our screens. Chris Jennings and Callum Brandt sharing the love with the 5.2 litre V10s. Listen to this soundtrack. Chris Jennings has been driving very tidy in this race. I think he knows that some of these guys are quicker on paper, and he's not getting into fights he doesn't need to. He's just trying to bag points wherever he can. He's in 13th position at the moment, so he will still get a couple of championship points for that. He's 2 and a bit seconds ahead of Mark Johnson, who just missed out on a championship point in race 1, so he'll be happy to be on for points as of right now. Still 13 minutes of this race left to go. It's a short lap here at Silverstone International, so you get a lot of laps in a race. You get, I think we had 29 laps in race 1, because it's literally just over a minute, so you get almost a perfect amount of laps to how many minutes of a race you get. In the sim right now, it is 10 to 9 in the evening, and as you can see, it has not got any warmer at all. Nils Core still parking that Mustang where he needs to. Certainly been a bit more defensive from Nils Core in this race rather than attacking. But that battling before will go down as one of the absolute highlights of the season. An incredible fight. And he holds on at the moment to 7th place. Dan McCauley has got ever closer to Ben Idris Abdullahi as well. The Mustang taking over the reins of as the big beefy V8 car. It makes the Mercedes look small, doesn't it? Look at the size of it. It's absolutely brilliant. Dan's gone a little bit hot onto the brakes there. I think Ben Idris Abdullahi will be thinking, it's not that brilliant, Chaz. Thank you very much. Here is Dennis Van Beelen, still in 5th. Still doing what he needs to do to hold on to some big championship points. You can see on Jake Cranstone's rear wing there, I eat Jettas for breakfast. JK multiple Jetta champion here on iRacing. And now GT4 Challenge champion as well. Look at the humidity, it's very beautiful, isn't it, here on iRacing. May not be the prettiest sim in the world, but it's definitely the most natural looking, I think. Still a few things here and there. I mean, you'll notice the almost perfect black wheels on Nils Kor's car. And a few elements of the car don't seem to be affected by lighting. There's a little black dot on the back of it that just appears. You can see that, but I'm picky. Very picky. And Nils is holding on at the minute. 10 3/4 minutes left to go. And we've had a lot of action here at Silverstone International in the Sim Racing Magazine GT3 Winter Tour by Derbyshire Holiday Homes. Big thanks to Derbyshire Holiday Homes, Oris Analytics and Bespoke Shelters also. And to SRM Sim Racing Magazine, Andy Marston, the boss man. And to everyone that's been involved. We've started a bit of a committee recently to help organise the championships and get different viewpoints on things, and it's been great to have more people on board rather than just little old me trying to do it all on my own, because I've had to concede that I can't. There's that little weird lighting effect I mentioned. Look at like the vents on the windows and stuff as Dan McCauley tries to make it around the outside of Ben Idris Abdullahi. Callum Brandt has a front row seat now to this. Suddenly the Audi is part of the scrap. Building smoothly onto the throttle and still having a slide through the final corner. Just holding my breath around the first corner really, because I used to race the older version of the Audi R8 in a GT3 championship, and every time you went round a high speed corner it just wanted to throw you into a different country. Seems like it's similar here. Now Jake Cranstone has not been catching Dennis Van Beelen here. He's actually been falling back into the clutches of the guys behind. He was 4/10, nearly half a second slower than Van Beelen on that previous lap. 7/10 slower than the three drivers right behind him as well. All have something in common, as I've mentioned many a time, but it's just great to see them all on the circuit together, fighting like this. All in different cars as well. That makes it so, so cool. Lewis Ward is the one with the best view, as he has to now pick this apart if something happens. 8 and change left to go. Up through the gears, this gorgeous sounding Porsche. The 992 GT3R, certainly a formidable bit of kit. Every single Porsche GT3 car has been such a stalwart and such a hard worker. You can see just how tricky this section is in these cars. You could very easily overwork it, overdo the tyres. Corners like that as well, the right-hander at the bottom of the hill. It's got this big dip and a big sort of lunge down onto the brakes. Just doesn't seem like a comfortable corner at all in any car. It seems like right now Simon Povey is the one that is closing in on the guys ahead. Lewis having a bit of a gap open up in front of him there. Is Nils Kor going to go for a move? Seems like he's just waiting. He's just biding his time here to try and get past Jake Cranstone. Jake is not necessarily in a huge rush by the look of it. He's not sort of overly defending either, is Jake. He's just keeping himself to himself and doing what he needs to do in this 6th spot in the field. We've got an off for Martin Kenyon. Kenyon on the grass. That's on the exit of the penultimate corner. He's going to rejoin. Oh, there's a big old bump in that grass there. We need to go further up the order because Drew Fletcher is under attack from Adam Watson, the man that led the majority of race 1 and has had a hell of a comeback drive here to go from 15th on the grid up into 3rd. Is he going to send it down into Stowe? Yes, he is. Big send down the inside of the Porsche. Drew doesn't fight it too hard. He's just going to try and play it safe. Maybe get a cut back on him. Is he going to put his nose back down the inside? Adams put the car in the middle of the road. Drew backs out of that one. Nice and safe. Says no thank you. You can see he's got the Goose helmet on from Top Gun. As we said at Donington Park, he is a real world pilot as well as Drew, so it's the guy for the job to be wearing it. But Adam Watson through into 2nd position now with his stablemate Tim Perry leading the race, and then Arthur Thurtle in 4th position. Altitude Esports, 3 cars inside the top 4. That is pretty impressive, no matter how you look at it. Jake Cranstone now hard onto the brakes as Simon Povey's gone for it down the inside of Nils Kor. Simon throws it up the inside. Now we've got the opposite of what we had a few laps ago. Lewis Ward is now the one in the box seat in case these two come together. He's going to get the run on the exit. Oh no, there's contact and Simon is around. Simon bounces off the side of the Mustang of Nils Kaur. Oh, that sounded brilliant. So did that. Simon will be gutted with that one. Dan McCauley was a big gainer in all of that. He's now moved up behind Nils Kaur. Ben Idris Abdullahi is through. Lewis Ward is just ahead of Callum Brandt, but he's missing the entire front bumper from that 992. That is absolutely devastating, though, mostly for Simon Povey. After how great the battle was earlier on, just that one little bit of contact. There was nothing really that Lewis could have done, to be honest with you. Simon's actually got his teammate Ben Chalcraft now right behind him. The two Spontex CDM Esports cars, both still in the points at least, so they're on for something. It seems like Lewis Ward is struggling here. Yeah, he's letting Callum Brandt go. He knows that there's not long left in this race, so as long as he holds on to a point scoring position, he'll still be okay. Kenyon has come into the pit lane. And he has actually, yeah, driven all the way down the pit lane and got to his box. I was just about to say, we've not seen much of Tim Perry, but we can barely see him in the fog. But Tim has had an absolutely lovely race so far. 2.6 seconds ahead of fellow altitude driver Adam Watson. With 5 minutes left on the clock, it could be that Tim Perry would take what will be his second race win of the season, because he won earlier on in the championship at Brands Hatch. And so far before this, we've had 4 different race winners. Adam Watson getting 2 wins on the bounce. Simon Povey getting a victory in race 1 tonight. Tim, of course, winning at Brands, and also Lewis Ward winning the first race at Brands earlier on in the season. Nils Kaur still in the fight. He's got Dan McCauley just behind him, Jake Cranstone just ahead of him. That sounds just epic, doesn't it? Really does. Still 4 minutes left to go. Callum Brandt and Lewis Ward have spread out a little bit now. Lewis Ward, unfortunately, with that damage, doesn't seem to be getting anywhere. Like I say, he's just trying to hold on, I think, at this stage. Doesn't want to come into the pits and throw away all of his championship points from this race. At the end of the day, they get drop rounds or drop meetings. So he can still drop this as his lowest. We need to go further up the order again here, because Drew Fletcher, with 3.5 minutes left, still on for a podium in 3rd place, albeit for that pesky Corvette behind him. And it's not his good mate Simon Povey. It is Arthur Thurtle that in the Altitude Esports car is closing in lap after lap. Last time round he was 0.4 of a second quicker than Drew. And rightly pointed out by Vin Fuego, the top 7 cars are all different manufacturers. How cool is that? The only manufacturers not up there are the Ferraris, both of which are out of the race. Lee Berridge and Daniel Parent-Smith didn't even start race 2. Neither did John Higgins Jr., John Roberts or PJ Clysons. Drew really putting the car in the middle of the road there for Arthur Thurtle to have nowhere to go. He's making him work for it. But yeah, having 7 different manufacturers of the 8 that are currently on the circuit in that top 7 is just awesome. Really, really awesome. Now there is that glow of the headlights that I don't like that has made its way back. As now, Drew defending the inside line. Oh, it's Chris Jennings, Vim Fuego. Hello, Chris. I thought I recognised the username, but I see that many of them on YouTube. I don't know. But thank you, Chris. Arthur Thurtle is looking racy here, isn't he? Right behind Drew. Just over 2 minutes to go, so there's going to be 2 laps left of this race. Still got time to make the move. You can see the flick of flame in the background there from Tim Perry's McLaren. Arthur has seen here that Drew is going to go defensive, so he knows he doesn't have to push too hard. He understands that he is quicker than Drew here. He was 0.2 of a second quicker than him on the previous lap. Puts his nose down the inside. Gets Drew to defend. Look at that. Drew really, really clinging to that inside line. He's making the already thick hips of that Porsche even thicker. And the spiky Corvette cannot find a way to wedge itself down the inside just yet. It's a doorstop with a rear wing, isn't it, really? A bit further back, Jake Cranstone is starting to come under pressure again from Nils Core now. Is Nils able to do anything about him in these final 2 laps? We'll have to wait and see. I can see why the car was called the Mustang now, actually. Uncanny resemblance. He's got another one behind him there, is Nils, with Dan McCauley. And then Ben Idris Abdullahi having another good run tonight, considering how much of a recovery he had to do earlier in the evening. He's been brilliant. He was excellent at Donington Park as well. But you can bet now that Drew is going to defend for his life to keep this podium as we head on to what will be the final lap now. Tim Perry is about to come around the final corner, and he's going to cross the line as... Oh, I had to cut away from it, didn't I? Drew Fletcher and Arthur Thurtle making contact, and that is dropping Drew Fletcher down positions. He's going to be right in the thick of this fight now. That's not going to do Jake Cranstone any favours. Goodness me. I think Drew unaware that Nils was flying through that quickly as well. Dan comes by on the right-hand side as Drew tries to regain his bearings, but Thurtle is through and up into 3rd position. Unfortunately, like I said, everybody, with an as-live replay, we can't go back to replays because that would completely throw the session back to live time, which is finished. As Drew's had another wobble there. Ben Idris Abdullahi has to make sure he gets out of the way. Oh, and there's more contact now with the Mercedes. Drew side by side. He's got to be careful that he doesn't have any incident points or a drive through. I don't know if he's got damage or what. But we move to the front end of the order because the checkered flag comes up on the graphic, and it's going to come up in person for Tim Perry, who takes his 2nd race victory of the season in the SRM GT3 Winter Tour by Derbyshire Holiday Homes. Adam Watson 2nd and Arthur Thurtle 3rd means it's an altitude 1, 2, 3. Dennis Van Beelen next up, and then hats off to these lot. Jake Cranstone, Nils Core, Dan McCauley, Ben Idris Abdullahi, Callum Brandt, Lewis Ward and Simon Povey were all amazing entertainment through that. Big commiserations to Drew Fletcher there because he drove so well through that race. Absolutely gutting stuff to finish in 10th after all of that. Mark Johnson gets some points in 11th. Ben Chalcraft gets points in 15th. Sorry, Mark Johnson got points in 14th. I do apologise. I read his car number out there. But Tim Perry, 2nd race winner of the season. No news is good news at the front of the pack. And he'll be absolutely delighted with that. That is his 2nd race 2 victory of the season as well. He had a 10th and a 1st at Brands Hatch, then a 14th and a 1st here tonight. Other drivers with a double podium actually. Adam Watson tonight, 3rd and 2nd. He had a really good run of that. Arthur Thurtle back into the pit lane for him. 7th and 3rd tonight. So still some big points for Arthur and for Altitude Esports. They must be very, very pleased. So Tim Perry takes his 2nd win of the season. Adam Watson finishes 2nd. Arthur Thurtle is 3rd. Dennis Van Beelen, a great drive for 4th place. And Jake Cranstone completes the top 5. He worked so hard to defend that. Hats off, Jake. Nils Core was next up in 6th ahead of Dan McCauley and Callum Brandt, who worked hard to get through to there. Drew Fletcher eventually finishes 9th, with Lewis Ward classified in 10th position. We then had Chris Jennings in 11th, Simon Povey in 12th, Mark Johnson 13th, Ben Chalcraft 14th and Ryan Penny 15th. That's because Ben Idris Abdullahi ended up with a penalty by the look of it, which dropped him down the order. The crowd can't decide whether they're going to cheer or not. Simon Price finished in 17th place, just outside of the points, ahead of Kim Such, and Christopher Rowe and Lee Berridge were 1 lap down with Heinz Mayer. Martin Kenyon was 7 laps down, and PJ Clysons, Daniel Parron-Smith, John Roberts and John Higgins Jr. did not take the start of the race. But that is unfortunately all we have time for here tonight on Chaz Draycott Media. Hope you've all enjoyed the show once again. Thank you very much for joining me, as this was an as-live broadcast of the 7th and 8th rounds of the SRM GT3 Winter Tour by Derbyshire Holiday Homes. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Thanks once again to the sponsors, Derbyshire Holiday Homes, Oris Analytics and Bespoke Shelters. Thank you to everybody involved in making this possible, and we look forward to seeing you next time around when the series will move on, of course, to its next 2 half-hour races in the GT3 Winter Tour. We have a bit of a break now with the... Sorry, we do not have the break yet, actually. We have week 13 on the 10th of December, but next up in a week's time, we will head to Snetterton for the 300 layout. Thanks once again, everybody. Hope to see you there. And for now, enjoy the rest of your evening.
Four French drivers at the French Grand Prix trying to win this on the final lap. The three wide again, Guillaume down the inside. Guillaume moves across, they're both in front of Milan and Pouget. Before you know it, we find ourselves here in the very final race of the competition.
And then they see truck racing and they think, this is crazy, you know, these are 5-ton machines, 1200 horsepower brake.
Oh, look at that switchback. Oh, you can look and a drift to show off.
Ben Gregory now, I love it. 18.5 minutes gone. Senna Lanson tries to go for the race lead.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.